As the United States of America was being developed, it was important for the founders to establish powers and limit the powers. They had left the British rule as they believed that the government had overstepped its bounds in terms of power. As they created the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, established the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, they wanted to make sure that the power would remain in the people and not in the government or the leaders. The first 10 amendments are very important for this. Today we're going to look specifically at the 8th Amendment. The 8th Amendment states, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. There are several parts to this amendment. Influence for this amendment can be seen in the English Bill of Rights of 1689, the Magna Carta 1215, and these ideas can also be seen in the Virginia Declaration of Rights in 1776. Let's take some time and break down the pieces of this clause. First, we will examine the part about bail. Bail is what is put up to ensure that a person who is charged with a crime shows up in court. If the person skips out on bail, i.e. they do not show up to court, they forfeit the right to get that money back. If they show up for their trial, they are given that money back. It's essential that this amount required motivates the person to show up to court, but is also not too much that they can't pay it. Ensuring adequate bail is required also helps with jail overcrowding. If the bail is too high and they can't pay it, they will have to spend the time in jail prior to their trial, which in turn prevents them from adequately being able to prepare for their defense. The amount that is required should adequately line up with the type of crime that the person committed so that the person does not have to spend additional time in jail, especially in line with the concept of being innocent until proven guilty. People cannot be held in jail for excessive amounts of time, as they also have the right to a speedy trial. They are in jail prior to the trial. At this point, they've only been accused of the crime and have not yet been convicted of it, so it's unjust. At the same time, there are cases where they will request that a person is remanded without bail, as the particular crime may be too heinous and they are trying to protect the community. Fines or fees that are required sometimes when someone commits a crime can also be considered excessive. So this word is used again here. It is supposed to be that the payment that is required should fit the crime that is committed. However, sometimes the fines are different for the same crime depending on the circumstances. Is this fair and just, and what is excessive? The clause can be seen as subjective. Fines are rarely turned over by the higher courts, though they are able to be reversed if they are exorbitant fines or so grossly excessive as to amount to a deprivation of property without due process of law. This came from the case Water Pierce Oil Company v. Texas. The next part, which is probably the most familiar part for people and one most debated, is cruel and unusual punishment. We know that there are other punishments for crimes other than just fines. Sometimes people are required to complete community service, they may spend time in jail for various amounts of time, they may be executed, or something else. The punishment should fit the crime, and so over the years the Supreme Court has determined what this means. It is forbidden certain punishments as being excessively cruel no matter what the situation, and some based on the crime or the mental state of the person convicted of the crime. So let's take a look at some important court cases. In 1878, the case Wilkerson v. Utah, the Supreme Court determined that drawing and quartering, burning alive, disemboweling, and public dissecting were cruel and unusual no matter what. Weems v. United States established the principle of proportionality, meaning that the punishment should fit the crime. The practice of instituting hard and painful labor, shackling for the length of incarceration, as well as severe civil restrictions, was eliminated. In 2005, the court ruled that executing someone under the age of 18 violated the 8th Amendment. Further, in 2010, it was also established that sentencing the person under the age of 18 to life in prison without the chance of parole is also cruel, except for cases of murder. The Supreme Court also determined that prison conditions can be considered cruel and unusual, violating the 8th Amendment. This would include harsh treatment, lack of basic life necessities, as well as racial segregation. The most controversial part of cruel and unusual punishment is whether or not the death penalty should be considered cruel and unusual, or if different methods are cruel or not. The death penalty was allowed without question up until 1972. In 1972, things changed with Furman v. Georgia. This determined that it could not be applied in an arbitrary and capricious manner. They decided there had been no set of standards for crimes in which the death penalty could be applied to. So this caused the states that allowed the death penalty to reevaluate their laws. Then in 1976, in Gregg v. Georgia, it was determined that the trial and sentencing for death penalty cases would be two separate events. So if the person is found guilty, then a second hearing would be held determining the sentencing. And Cope v. Georgia forbid the death penalty in cases of rape, as it was deemed unjust to take someone's life when they had not taken anyone's. This was upheld in 2008 in the case of Kennedy v. Louisiana. And then in 2002, the Supreme Court also determined that it was unjust to execute anyone who was mentally handicapped or had an IQ less of 70. So this is just a brief glimpse of the Eighth Amendment, its meaning, and its implications in American life today.